Welcome to the Women Getting Stupid Rich podcast. This is Jamie B, and I have Theresa Contreras in the hot seat today, and I am excited that you said yes. This podcast is all about the business. I love diving into other successful female entrepreneurs' minds and figuring out, okay, what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Yep.
If you could go back to your younger self, and when I say younger, I mean like younger entrepreneur, like whatever that is. If someone's been in business for 25 years, 10 years, 3 years, what would you tell her? And I think that's where I want to kind of get started, because you and I have had some great business conversations.
Yeah.
And there were some things that I picked up that you kind of alluded to on some things where it's like, for example, we talked about you're in this process of finding a distributor and finding a manufacturer for your products, some of your products.
Yeah.
And it came up like, okay, you could do this yourself, right? Get the machinery and do it all yourself. And you were very clear in saying, that's not what I want to do anymore.
Yep.
And getting real clear about almost like your business boundaries of what you want to do and what
great way to say it.
Do you know what I'm saying? But
totally.
That's evolution, right?
Yeah.
We don't just get out and like, hey, I'm starting a business. Like, would you say, and I'm guilty of this, would you consider yourself kind of like a serial entrepreneur?
Totally. 100% guilty.
Okay. Yeah. High five, sister. Me too. Would you say that early in your professional career that you tried to do it all yourself?
Yeah, and I still do. So I'm still guilty of that. But to that effect, I understand how well a team does work, and that other people have skill sets that I do not have and what they can bring to the table. Because it's like everyone said, like, you're only going to get so far by yourself. And you know, although we're just talking about that, like the actual business part of it, it's I don't care what you do in life. It's about community. It's about doing things with other people. And that's always going to be the case. I don't care if it's business, relationships, whatever that is. So that's something that you always need to work on. So trying to do everything yourself is it's going to get you so far. And I could do a lot of things, but the reason, it's not that I try to do everything myself. It's that I try to understand everything that needs to be done in the business. And I think those are two very different things. So we need to personally take that journey ourselves so that we understand all aspects of the business. Because if I go to ask someone that is working for me, hey, can you do this for me? And they tell me, oh, no, that's not possible. And I'm like, actually, it is possible, because I've done that before. So there's a difference between that. And I think I've come to know that it's important to know different aspects of the business. If being an entrepreneur, you need to kind of know all of them. You don't need to wear all the hats the whole time, but you need to wear them at one point in the journey.
Just to be able to connect to it.
Yep. To understand the process.
Yeah. To help mentor and coach, but not necessarily be the expert. And I think that's like a balance, right?
It is. And so the reason I say that is so that you can understand what you're looking for too. Because I think as an entrepreneur, like, we'll bring someone else to the table, but then we kind of know in our head, like, okay, but this is kind of see the direction, like the way I see the direction going in. And we need to be able to try to communicate that with someone else and understand that with them. Now, don't get me wrong. Other people will bring new ideas to the table, but it's really about being able to, work with both of those things with you. To me, it's never a compromise. It's more of like getting better, like elevating each other to get to the next level.
At what point, I kind of go through this too, and I went through it probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Where you get to a point where it's like, wow, this is actually have some legs, and you start to really like lean into it, right?
Uh-huh.
But you get to a point in your business where it's like, now it's time to get help. Like, how do you?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm right. I'm there right now. I totally know what you mean.
So
yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit, and I'll share with you, for me, my experience, and then I'd love to get your perspective on it as well. So for me, with Femcanic Garage, Femcanic Tools, I realized that I was falling out of love with my business.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it was this thing that at one point it's like I'd fall asleep thinking about it. Right. It almost like when, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
It's like the greatest gift in life is when you don't have a job anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. Not a job, but you have your business. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. But when you find that thing, and it was probably about 18 months in, and I started feeling myself fall out of love with my company, my product, my service, that thing that I was doing. Yeah. And I remember sitting there thinking, Theresa, like, something's not right, because I would go and do interviews with women, and I would go and connect at conferences and community, right? With my community. And I'm like, God, this feels so right. Like, it's like a coming home for me, but yet I was falling out of love with it. And that's when I realized and paused for a moment and said, I kind of did not a over the top time study of how I was spending my time, right? Yeah. In the business. And I did a crude time study where I started figuring out I was spending 75 to 80% of my time doing administrative logistics stuff in the smallest percentage of time of the thing that I loved and what I would consider my zone of genius. So then I figured out ways to automate that. And then I brought in a VA. Not until then did I start falling back in love with my business. Now, what was your experience?
So I would say all of us have very similar journeys, because you have to realize we're evolving. Okay. Through this process, we're starting this journey. Like I'm kind of in that space right now, because, we've started, a newer business. This has been in the last 3 years. We literally started Baja Forged February 2020. So like the month before COVID happened, right? Like literally 1 month before. It was like February 14th. Not knowing what the rest of the world was going to happen and all of that.
Real quick, share what Baja Forged is, just so people can connect the dots.
Yeah. So Baja Forged is off-road products built to forge your own path. It's basically, it kind of comes back to our family. We went down to Baja a lot. We've done a lot of off-roading. What I realized as an entrepreneur is, as I worked in our family auto body shop business, that I started to get a signature style, and I finally built my own vehicle exactly how I wanted it. And then everyone else wanted it. And so, and I think
pause 1 second, Theresa, because you just dropped a power nugget there, and I want to make sure the listeners connect the dots there.
Yep.
Now, you said your style, but for me, since I'm in media, my thing is I found my voice.
Yep.
Right? Your style, your voice. And just to put it in perspective, how long did it take you?
It's giving me chills. It's giving me chills when you say it and you stop me, and I'm glad, because that's it. People have to realize, because a lot of people will say, like in business, like, oh, I'm doing this to fix someone else's problem. I have to give other people a solution, but you have to realize you're doing it for yourself first. You're doing your own first, and other people see it. And you're like, I fixed my own problem. I was like, I don't see any other vehicles out there that I love, like that I fall in love with when I'm going off-roading. So that's what I wanted to build, is one for myself. And
that's why I started Femcanic Garage. Same thing. I couldn't find that thing that I loved, so I created it. And it wasn't for anyone else. It was for me.
And that's what so many people say, you need to create. It's not. You need to create. You need to find what you're excited about and put that into the world. And you're solving your own problem. And in that point, you're solving other people's problem by solving your own first.
In an authentic, genuine way.
Yes.
You can't get any more authentic and genuine. And that's what people start connecting to.
Yep.
People
And it
kept
gets
asking me, why do you think it works so well? Like Femcanic Garage, why did you do so well, Theresa?
well,
And honestly, it goes back to that, right?
it does, because you even said it before too, Jamie, because it turns into a job. We're taking that part out of it. We're making it something that we got passionate and excited about, and we're solving our own problem. It's not a job that we're just going and punching in and doing something. We're trying to do something for ourselves on this personal journey, and along the way, other people actually want to join, and you're like, this is kind of cool,
Yeah, right.
And even for me, so like I was painting vehicles, for almost 15 years prior to that, and I was doing it the way other people kind of wanted me to, and I would slowly put my spin on things. But as soon as I did something like that, it just changed everything.
And by that, you mean
my own
show your own
Yep,
style.
being authentic to myself, and going and like setting those again with a boundary thing, right, Jamie? She's like, because through the process, people are like, oh well, no, what if you do this? And I was like, no, for me, I always put 20-inch wheels on off-roading vehicles. That is a no. That is like something no one likes to see, and that's not possible. I'm like, really? Because I'm pretty sure I go off-roading all the time in them, and yeah. I'm fine. So I like the style. I like, the balance of what it looks like. There's a certain, so there's a reason why people are attracted, right? And I say that word because it's to your voice and style. It's to my design. There's something that has to grab someone the first time. It's not just like that they know something. They need to be like, there needs to be something there that catches their attention. There's a reason why. That
connection, it goes back to what you said, Theresa, community.
Yes.
Like
you find your tribe.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, listen to this. And there's moments where we're talking, I'm getting goosebumps. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is good shit.
Right.
Trying to articulate this for entrepreneurs. Yeah. And, starting Femcanic Tools, it was an evolution for me. Right. And we have these gifts and talents and experiences. And one thing that I would tell all entrepreneurs is, when I listen to you and just seeing this conversation unfold, is there's a key thing here: boundaries.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yep.
Simple in concept, super simple in concept. Incredibly challenging to implement, especially when it comes to family. And for me personally, when I quit my day job, and my last day was October 31st of 2021, I believe. Yeah, I think so. And then I headed off to SEMA, right? I didn't tell my family until after the new year that I quit my day job. Honestly, God's honest truth. I had not told my family. Yeah. And, that was a conscious decision.
For you, right?
For me.
Yep.
Right? And that's an example of boundaries.
Yeah.
That oftentimes our biggest supporters are our tribe, not our family.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make our family bad or wrong.
No.
And we have to accept that.
Totally. And this is such a great topic, because stereotypes, stories, it's kind of where we fall into this path of that being something we think we're trying to be the people pleasers, right? Because, the world tells us this is what we should do.
You need to be nurturing. You need to put your family first. And I'm not saying that as like a bad thing and that you shouldn't do that.
But but if you don't want to do it, then you feel bad because that's what the world says you should do.
As
so
a
then
woman.
you,
Is that what you're saying? As a woman. Yeah,
totally. And so there's so many different things. I mean, for me, oh gosh, going down that road is like, it's huge, because so bringing Real Deal into this, that
tell the audience what Real Deal is, which is way cool, by the way.
So Real Deal Revolution is it's a nonprofit organization. It's changing the perception of skilled trades and women's roles in them. So Jesse Combs and myself co-founded that in 2014. And the idea was that we were good. We were both good in our careers. Like we loved working on cars, motorcycles. We loved off-roading together. We loved doing all these things. And we didn't, at that time in 2014, social media wasn't huge, so you weren't seeing visually a lot of it. You were just like, if you connected with women here and there, we had connected on the first all-female build that SEMA did in 2012. So then that was 2013. I always get it wrong. It's like 2012, 2013 right there. And so when we connected on that, we were kind of like, okay, we see a couple other women out there, but none that were doing what we did. And we're like, we want to see more women. We want to find more of our tribe and we want to help build it. It wasn't even just about that. It was like, we want to help create this and this culture and this idea because we knew that we felt this certain way. We're like, we know that there's other women out there that want to do the same stuff and love it just as much as we do, and it's changing the idea. So changing the perception of skilled trades and women's roles in them. Like everyone thinks, oh, you say automotive, they think mechanic. Well, no, there's so many other options. People don't even realize, like now, customizing a vehicle is a little more, known in the industry and stuff, but
you could get into 3D printing, AutoCAD, marketing. I mean, the list goes on and on, right?
It really is.
Leatherworking, upholstery.
And so we just wanted to, and it's cool. It's sexy. You have to bring something in that people want to do, not just like, it's this dirty, ugly job that people used to do back in the day. And I don't want to do that. But like, it's not though. It's so cool and it's so fun. And the thing is we need to show that side. So by you, Jamie, giving your voice, like you're showing the side of getting to know other women and getting to know, business and stuff. And you're trying to shine a new light on it, in a different perspective that people don't see. And that's what we're trying to do with Real Deal.
I'll tell you one thing that, and this is my own personal journey as well, Theresa, is, just titling this podcast "Women Getting Stupid Rich."
I love it. Yeah.
It's an internal evolution, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of strings attached with the idea of being stupid rich.
Yeah.
And
sure.
A lot of people have been raised like money doesn't grow on trees and rich people are snobs and you know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there and it was an internal conflict for me. Right? Yeah. Where, all you do in life is pay taxes and die. I'm like, if you have the money, you don't have the time. If you have the time, you don't have the money, right? All these myths around it.
And for me, I always saw money they caused fights. That's what I always saw. Big one. So I didn't want to be. Yep. So I don't want it because I want to fight. Like that's not my goal, So yes, there's all these different things that we see that we grow up with that life tells us, that we look at it in a bad way, but it's just a tool. It's exactly right? You're doing FemCAN tool. It's a tool. That's it. That's what it's for.
It's simply a tool. And I guess if I were to dive in and we think about, we've unpacked a lot. If you think about boundaries. Huge. And this other concept around, I feel like the biggest kind of aha moment for me was having a conversation with my kiddos about meditation, right? And before I used to think meditation, and I'll bring this full circle, but I used to think about meditation as you said, crisscross applesauce. Yes. My kids are older. I technically they're out of elementary school, but and you sit there quietly and listen to chill like sounds and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Until I actually, my family got me a racing package, Martinez Racing School.
Yeah. We talked about,
right,
I like this. Yeah. Loving
and
this.
in driving that spec Porsche Boxster around Willow Springs track and going over 100 miles an hour, that was meditative for me. I have ADHD, and like my thoughts actually slowed down. It was a very meditative experience. And I just had this conversation with my kids yesterday where, for my son, when he's running, that's meditative for him. So my point in bringing this full circle is that oftentimes I feel like women, whether it's conscious or unconscious, are made to try to feel that they should feel guilty about spending time on their business if it means away from their family.
Oh, great one. Yes.
Oh my God.
That's,
And my thing with that is that when you're an entrepreneur, this is my opinion, you can tell me if you think I'm crazy about this. When you're an entrepreneur, the experience of starting, launching, growing a business is a spiritual experience.
I love that you said that, because I was going to go into that a little bit, but it's like
it is. There's so much internal work you have to do.
Yeah.
One, the perseverance to see it through when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
It's to keep going. It's your business grows as much as you do.
Yeah.
It is a very personal, meditative growth experience. And a lot of people don't understand that. And you and I have talked about how sometimes we feel like we're on an island.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't get us, particularly like our family members. But what are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, I feel like we're like barely touching on all these little subjects so quickly, and I'm like, these can be like full hour to 2 hour conversations.
I know, right?
Yeah, to like fully unpack them. Oh my God, I can go so many different directions. But so for my family, we're Christians, okay, and I'm gonna use this as an analogy because people kind of see where it crosses over. But okay. People know Jesus. They know the Bible. They know the history of that. Jesus did not stay with his family and hang out with them. He went out. He went out to see the rest of the world. I'm sorry, but that's what he did. That in the fact, like I can use that with my grandma now. He would come back and and say hi and hang out and that was a great thing. But he went out, he found a tribe, he found his tribe, he found disciples, he found people that understood what he was trying to do and spread what he was doing. That's a goal. And that's what all of us, there's only certain people that understand that journey and can do it on their own, because he did the same thing. He spent time in the desert alone, trying to process him, like what you're saying, meditation, figuring out what that is. But like for me, I had to figure out how can I share something with my family that I'm not making them think that like, it's not that I don't love them. It's that I need to get to another level.
You're called to do something that is
not even just
beyond yourself.
Yeah. It's not even just for me.
I can't even explain it.
Yeah. And only you know that journey. No one else will get it. No one else will understand it. You just have to know that it's been so hard, because it definitely wasn't like that. Going back to the boundaries, Jamie, earlier, because I was like, I need to touch back on that, because I think when we're young, it's really hard for us to do that, because, we're kind of stuck. It's like that path where like, oh, now we're adults. We're supposed to be taking off and doing this. But then our families kind of still want us, or they want to try to help guide us, or society wants to try to help guide us, So we kind of fall back into the trap of like, we're going to kind of do these things. And we don't push ourselves to say, no, this is, like you said, setting those boundaries. Like I've only recently set more of those boundaries, and
we have to call something out about boundaries though. And I think it's so important. And then I want you to keep going, but don't set boundaries and don't expect them to be received with a smile.
Yes. And 100%, because that's the hardest part of them is you seem selfish. That was exactly the next place I was going to go to, is like, you seem selfish if you set this boundary for yourself and it's not what everyone, oh, okay, you're going to go do your thing and stuff. And you're like, yeah, is that okay? Like, am I not allowed to do my own thing? You know? So
yeah,
it's so hard to see.
But it's the highest form of self-love.
Yeah.
And it fills your cup, because what good are you to anyone else when your cup's depleted?
Right.
The only thing that
Oprah talks about
oozing out of your pores is resentment, frustration, anger.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I want to put out to my family.
Totally. I want to come back and just be smiles and them too. And you're right. And that's all the way around. And I want them to be doing exactly what they want to be doing. You know, I want them to be in the happiest place. Like and we go and we figure that out. And it can be a difficult journey along the way. You know, it's not an easy path, and it's not for everyone, for sure. I mean, you know, your title and stuff, that's not everyone in the world. You look at entrepreneurs and they're, you know, in the less than 5% percentile of what that really is. You know, I think it's evolving and growing now because I think everyone's getting more of a voice, just like, you know, you said earlier, Jamie, like all of us are able to show that through social media. Like we're able to really kind of be a little more of who we are in doing that, you know? And when I talked about, you know, Real Deal Revolution earlier too, I mean, you know, Jessie Combs, like she was great at doing that too. She was great at showing, you know, that it's okay to be like this. Like she used to love to say, like, I give you permission, because it was so funny that you think like, what do you mean? Like, why are you telling people that? But see, they needed to hear words like that because they actually thought, because other people were telling them they couldn't have permission. So by her simply saying little phrases like that, it was like, you were blown away. You're like, oh shit, you're right. Like, that's it. That's all I need to do is give myself permission to go do it.
So Theresa, maybe together what we can do is give the listeners permission.
Agreed. You have permission to set your own boundaries, to be authentic to who you are, because we all have such a different voice inside all of us.
It doesn't make you selfish.
No.
It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you any of those things. What it does is make you a stronger woman. And you end up becoming the role model that your daughter, your son, maybe a niece, nephew, right? That sees. There are all these things, and this is what I keep telling people, and I always told people this during the Femcanic Garage podcast as well, is there's someone watching you, and there is more caught than taught. So
always.
How you are carrying, how you're responding to things, all of those things, someone is watching somewhere, not from a creepy, weird way or a judgmental way.
Yeah.
But they're watching and they are finding inspiration through you. And you may never know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that calling we have, Theresa, where it's like we have to. I can't be any other way. Yep. I would be so disgenuine if I was any other way. And we all know when we're being dishonest with ourselves.
Right.
We all know it. It shows up in our body. You end up with headaches, you get sick, worn down, fatigue, fill in the blank. The greatest telltale of anyone not honoring herself is her body.
Yep.
We just have to listen and trust our women's intuition. We have to trust our women's intuition.
Yep. Yeah, no, so all great stuff you just said, leading by example. That's it. It really comes down to that. It's you. As long as you're doing the things that you know are true to what that is, it's not about you telling someone this is what you need to do. No one wants to be told that. It's sharing these things with other people. Like, hey, this is what I do.
Be in community with them.
Yeah. By the way, you know, here, I'm going to share this with you. You know, I love to share other podcasts with people just to be like, hey, this is a great podcast I listened to, and things like that. It's sharing that. It's the walk your walk. Don't just talk it. Don't just say these are things that's hypocritical when you can tell someone what to do, but you're not doing it yourself, Right.
And that's the thing. Like I'm a big proponent of Brene Brown's work.
Yeah.
And the man in the arena, right? I mean, I can't be careful who you take feedback and opinions from.
Yes.
If they're sitting on the sideline and you're going after it, it's hard. That's taken me some time to do, Theresa.
Yeah.
I'm being honest, like being able to really separate that, because what I did, a lot of people either directly, indirectly, in a passive aggressive way, because that's the way my family rolls, avoidant and passive aggressive.
Most people are like that. It's kind of crazy, but
I tell you what, in some cultures, I don't think it's as bad. I really do, which I have mad respect for.
Yeah.
But, quitting my 6-figure cushy day job, selling my house, like technically I'm homeless. Technically, I live with my brother right now.
Yeah.
That's by choice. I don't want to buy a house right now, but it's... People thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
But now here I am, I'm knocking on the door of being 2 years in. Now I'm getting other people reaching out like, so what's it like? I'm like,
right.
Well, about 10 a.m. I go on my morning walk because I can.
Exactly.
I clear my mind and then I go back to work. And yesterday I was sitting in the hammock while I was working. All right.
Yep.
And getting great work done, and I would pause and watch the Cardinal.
I so hear you, and I am on that exact same journey right now. Then don't get me wrong, we're leaving out some of the other things, like you just said, you're homeless. You got like you're like, you live with your brother. It is a by choice. Like I have done some harder things like that, and it's by choice because I know what you need to do. You need to put the work in, and you know where it's going to go. Elon Musk lived on a couch at his shop. I multiple times would sleep on the couch at our shop. There are people that know when you're invested in something. And so like our family looks at it as like you said, like, oh, okay, that's all, oh, it's work again. Why are you putting so much? But it's not that it's work. It's that it's like you said, a calling inside of us that just, it's what we know how to do. It's not that we're not loving them any less. Like we're still going, hanging out and doing things like that. I'm
going to my spiritual practice. Is what it feels like to me. Honestly.
Yeah. Because it's what we know. Totally. I totally agree. It
fills my cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and what I would tell some women, if you have children, include them in your business in some way.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I have had more opportunities to teach my kids things that just isn't taught in school, right?
Yeah.
Through involving them in my business and seeing it.
Yeah.
Right?
So, no, that's huge because one of the biggest things, our family had a bit, I say my sister and I, right? We had a family business. We grew up around that. We grew up, going to work and stuff with them, being around customers. So when my son too came in, I did the same thing with him. I brought him in. He was the most well-adjusted kid, 5, 6 years old. He's going up to people, shaking their hand. Hi, sir. How are you today? How can I help you? How are you doing? Great. Nice to hear. He is still like that today because we surrounded him with people. And to me, soft skills are something that everyone has lost. Is like, it is something, my family and I helped start an actual, like an ROP program, like high school auto shop at a local, locally in LA County. And one of our biggest things on the map was soft skills. It was at the top. And recently it looks like that has like come away from it again. And we were like, nope, this needs to, we needed to regroup because it is one of the biggest things, especially in business right here, is networking. You will get everywhere in life by knowing people. I don't care what people say. If you have the edge on knowing someone to get in a job, you will 100% get it before someone else.
Absolutely.
Even if they have better, background and skill set and all of these things, because you have a personal connection with someone, it will get you everywhere.
That's it. It's all about personal connection. I mean, if I were to sum up this episode, Theresa, to bring it full circle for the listeners, here's what sticks out in my head. Set boundaries, for God's sake. Set boundaries.
But people don't know what those are.
We have to.
It's hard.
But if you're uncomfortable having the conversation, you know you're on the right track.
I like that.
Honestly, that's the God's honest truth. That's when you know you're setting a boundary that really matters to yourself. When you feel uncomfortable to have that conversation, to set the boundary, you know that it's something that's the stuff that if you don't address and set the boundary around, you end up resenting the other person. They don't even know why you're resenting them.
Yes.
That's on you.
Yep.
Right?
Totally
it's time
agree.
To grow up and put the big girl pants on. And
that's when we didn't even touch on is accountability.
Girl, oh my God, bragging. For God's sake, women, brag about yourself. Oh, why are women so bad at this? Like, men peacock like crazy, Theresa, like just big peacocks everywhere. And believe me, this isn't about man bashing or man hating. My biggest mentors and cheerleaders have been men. Yeah. I'm talking about at like a societal DNA level or some shit.
No, and it's DNA. It is. And like you said, it's peacocking. It's something that's in them that they have to put that out there. It's like a advertisement, right?
But as women, we have to get better at that in business. Right?
Yeah.
We have to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not courting. We're not, look, I didn't even say it. You said it, sister.
I know.
You just totally called yourself out.
I know. I know this is a little nice coaching call too.
Oh man, but just to give a little background, Theresa graciously accepted my invite to be a Women's Motorfest committee member for a company I co-own with Trish. And Women's Motorfest, you've been an awesome asset to it, Theresa. But just to give the listeners a little background, this is a conversation we had on the committee where when a new committee member comes in, each woman introduces themselves, and we just kind of a little icebreaker, get to know each other a little bit and their background. And all of them are terrible at promoting themselves. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, seriously? Like,
so it sounds like femcanic tools needs to be something we all work on, huh?
Seriously, brag. But we are terrible. And I say we because I had the same challenge in corporate America when you do your annual reviews, and the idea around the annual review is that you should brag about yourself. Yeah. And I think I figured out why women have a hard time with it, Theresa. You ready?
Okay.
It just occurred to me just right now, when I would write my annual review.
Did I do a drum roll?
I don't know. Maybe it's like, boom! I should have like a light bulb go off above me. Like, boom! Is that my managers, which were, a lot of them were men, would come back to me and read it, and they knew what I did that year, right? They had a front row seat. Yeah. And I would always get exceeds from them and they would read it and they'd be like, where's the rest of it, Jamie? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you so undersold and underplayed what you did this year. Why? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What are you referring to? And they'd give me some examples, right? And I'm like, well, that's just what you do. Like, right? It didn't occur to me that it was something special or above average or what would put you in the, exceptional, or how they do that rating. It did not occur to me that those things that I was doing fell into that category. It's that I did what I thought needed done, and I did it to the level that I knew I was capable of.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
I 100%. I feel the same way. I just walk my walk. That's it. I do what I do. Like, I need to talk about it. What? Like, it's just, like you said, like,
that actually is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I just did it and had a blast doing it.
Yeah. And that comes into something else we didn't talk about too. There's so many different things, but like for business is standards. Like, what are your standards, and not dropping them to meet someone else's? Because all the time I get that so often, like, oh, why do you need to be like this? And why do you need to do it that way?
It's okay to fire a client.
Well, I mean, other people around me, but I'm like, no, this is the way I'm going to do it. And there's
both. It's internal and external. And when I did financial advising, that was an amazing lesson for me, is learning and accepting that it's okay to fire a client or to market to specifically who you want.
That's good. And I agree with that. So, and I'm not even talking about clients. I'm talking about working with people and them accepting the certain standards and me not being okay with those. I mean, it's why we've won awards. It's why we've been on that Ford deck multiple times at the SEMA show, because standards were at a certain level. There's if you want to play a certain game with other people, guess what? You need to bring your standards up or above to be with those people. And your standards, like, other people will constantly, it's that boundary thing. They will constantly question them, like, oh, well, why does that need to happen? Or why this extra thing? Or, especially design wise, like, I get,
you're over analyzing. It's too much
with things like that. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, I don't know how I can explain it to you, but once you finish it, you'll just get it, because you'll see it and know it and understand it.
And once you get to that level, you can never go back.
Totally.
Not because you couldn't. It's that you just mentally, that's just where you're at. You went to that next level. And once you go to that next level, you never go back. Yeah.
And it's not something, it's kind of like the bragging thing. It's not something to say, oh, well, your weight isn't right or something like that. Like, I don't have any judgment on anyone, the way they do things. I just have a way I want to see the things that I put out, or anyone that works with me put out into the world as well, and what that is and stuff. So how we share, content, how we share, things that, vehicles that we build and product that we make and all of those things. It's part of us putting our voice, our style, all of that out there into the world as well.
Boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you a self-loving person. It fills your cup, right? Your tribe, your community. Oh my gosh, that is so important. And honestly, part of the reason why I created my business, Femcanic Garage, Femcanic Tools, Women's Motor Fest, if you see, they all kind of intersect with each other. But it's because I was feeling lonely. I wanted to connect with other like-minded people.
Yep.
Right? There is so much going on in this world that highlights how we are different. Right? And when all we focus on is how we're different, it like spawns hate.
Yeah.
And what I want to do, and the people I want to surround myself with, are the people who focus on how we're all more alike, or commonalities, or things that we intersect and have interests in together.
Yes. Yeah.
Community and tribe. That's why I started this, honestly. Yeah. It was, I want to create a community where it's like, hey, I would go have a beer with them.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean we have to be best friends, but there's a commonality there that we could all get together in a bar or an event of some sorts and hang out and have a common thing to talk about. Right?
Yeah, totally. I know. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I want to like touch on all of these little things every time I like spark something. And I'm like, so for me, about 7 years ago, I started totally getting into podcasts. I listened to them minimum 2 hours a day, I would say, because I was like driving to work and things like that. So like the community that you're sharing, Jamie, and things like that. What I realized is a lot of people were saying, like, you know, you need to surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, you know, and you get that. Well, the awesome thing now is that we can do that by YouTube, by podcasts, by all of this, because we're surrounding ourselves with those people to get to that next level. Because right now you're like, well, if I look at my neighbors or I look at my current community, I don't see that. So, you know, having your podcast, Jamie, having, you know, other opportunities, letting, you know, women know that look for your tribe, look for your community, exactly what you're talking about. It's out there. It's out there in different ways and forms now in the world that are nice for us to share, because it's helped me elevate to what that is too. It doesn't have to be like, you know, us, we're on the phone right now. We're having a conversation like that too. You know, we're, how many miles away? Like 2,000 maybe?
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm in Ohio. You're in California. Yeah, we're a little ways away.
Know? So we don't, to find our tribe and to do this, it doesn't need to be next door neighbors, you know? And I think that's what a lot of people have to realize, is that there's, you know, you have I have a podcast too now, you know? So
share,
you know,
share what it is, because it's an awesome podcast.
High Octane Hustle with myself and Fastlane Jane Thurman.
It's a great podcast. I'd recommend anyone go check it out. And I've interviewed both of you on the Femcanic Garage podcast, and Jane's a riot, man. She is so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. No, it's good. So just talking to that of what you were saying and finding that tribe and community, I just want to let people know, like, it's not necessarily right next door, you know. It can be, it's out there in the world, and you know, you're sharing that, I'm sharing that. We're all building those, and people can become part of them. Totally.
Absolutely. And then I think the other third major theme here is, for God's sake, brag about yourself. Bragging does not mean conceit.
Give me an example then, how you do it.
How I do it?
Yeah.
Hey, girl, I'm still trying to figure this crap out. Why do you think I say this shit out loud? And so I hear myself say it again. Like, really, when I'm saying it out loud, it's not like me saying, hey, I got this. This is in my head. I'm saying, damn it, Jamie, why aren't you doing this? That's what's going on in my head. Like, okay, say this out loud because I want to act it. I want to be it. I want to breathe it into existence. I think we tend to get hung up on titles. Does that make sense? And I think for me as an entrepreneur, this part right here has been one of the most elusive things for me. Because when I was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley, I could sit there and talk to someone that I just met and said, oh, yeah, I'm a VP at Morgan Stanley. I'm a financial advisor. People would be like, oh, they know what that is.
Sure.
But I just had this conversation. Do you know what I mean? People connected the dots because that's instantly. Right. But when you're, and even when I was a program project manager managing multi-million-dollar projects, and I could say that, people are like, oh, okay. That part for me, being an entrepreneur, Theresa, has been, I'm still figuring that out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had the conversation. My brother came to me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and his girlfriend's like, what'd she say? She was a little frustrated with her job at the time. She's like, you know, how's Jamie doing? Is she doing okay? And my brother's like, yeah, she seems to be doing fine. And he was asking, she was trying to find out about the job thing, because at some point when we're fed up with our day job, we entertain this idea of entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. Some
of us just really take the plunge. All right. And she's like, well, what does your sister do? He's like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I literally live in your house. I work from home. But it's a perfect example. And it's like, and then my kids, you know, if they're asked like, so what does your mom do? She's a podcast host. And honestly, if someone told me that, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how do they really make their money? Because you and I both know, Theresa, podcasts are more about content, a content machine.
Yep.
Very, very small percentage of podcasters actually make a living off of podcasts.
Yeah. It takes a while. Yeah, totally.
And even if you do make some money off of it, but when you factor in what an hour's worth of your time is worth and all of the other stuff, if you're breaking even, you're good.
Right? Yeah, totally.
But it goes to prove that this is a long drawn out answer, but I want to let other entrepreneurs know that if you do not know how to brag about yourself yet, it's okay. But what I will tell you is it's like anything else. It's like practice. To get good at something, you got to practice it more.
Sure.
So even at our Women's Motorfest committee, having you guys say who you are, what you do and stuff, that's by design, Theresa. There's a method to all of my madness.
Sure.
And I want to give a gift back to all the women on the committee because you guys are volunteering your time. Those are the little ways that I try to give back where it's like, okay, every time you're introducing yourself, you're actually practicing how to brag about yourself if you choose to take advantage of the opportunity.
And don't get me wrong, like I can do the elevator speech of like, if that's what we're specifically, looking at to like sell my business or something, or to do things like that, we've built award-winning vehicles for Ford and for Kia and for Jay Leno, and they've been the top spots at the SEMA show. I mean, we had one of the biggest press conferences at the SEMA show when Jay Leno's, vehicle was revealed. And to be part of things like that is awesome. Half the time, though, people go, the SEMA show? I don't even know what that is. But,
it's the Super Bowl of automotive aftermarket. Like, it takes over the whole Las Vegas convention. Not a part of it.
You know what I mean?
The whole thing.
So what's hard is like, even you saying like the podcast, like society, we're still in a different level of where people don't quite get what we do because of who we are, because we're different. Yeah. We're not exactly what the normal, I tell people, I'm a custom automotive painter. They still have no clue what that. I've literally painted over hundreds of vehicles, in my lifetime, and that they I don't get it. Like a flame job on a motorcycle. Oh yeah. Okay. Got it. So it's, you really have to explain it to them and give all of these examples and stuff. And it's kind of funny sometimes. So, I mean,
but that's an important lesson. Like as an entrepreneur, when you're kind of carving your own path with your product or service.
Yes.
There's an acceptance level. And so, I don't know about you, Theresa, but there's sometimes where it's like, oh, for God's sake, I got to do this again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how do you not know about this already? Like, do you know what I'm saying? And what I will tell people is that the moment that you're getting over it and sharing that, that's when you're actually getting somewhere. When you think everyone else has already heard your message, that's when people are actually hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about, but it's true.
No,
You got to keep doing it and keep honing it. And that's all part of your
totally.
Building and finding your voice.
Yeah. And that's for that's and it's exactly it, because even when, like I said, like my Raptor was it was a changing point for me, for my career, for everything. It completely switched things over. And like you said, it was finding my voice. It was me putting that out there and finally setting those, all of these things you're talking about. It took me a long time to get there.
How long do you think it took you, Theresa? Because I have a feeling social media and the instant gratification era right now, it kind of sets a lot of entrepreneurs up to feel like, hey, it's year 3 and I'm not here. And they're really comparing themselves to someone who is technically in year 15.
Sure. So, okay, if we're going straight to business, it's going to take you 2 to 3 years for people to even know who you are. Okay. Just to get in the industry, in the world, for people kind of what you're saying, to start to really know your
industry. Not just we're talking any industry. Yep.
Yeah. Could be actress, could be anything like that. It could, whatever. 2 to 3 years is minimum that you're going to put work in, that finally you might actually like hear your name back from someone and go, oh yeah, I've heard of you or something. Right.
Yep.
7 years is where you're starting to probably make money at that point. You're starting to actually get to a point, and it could be sooner in that time frame, but this is like a pretty typical journey.
Mechanic Tool speeds that up, by the way.
Okay, I'll give like someone like Britney Spears, for example, okay? Really weird, right? But you're like, she started as like a child star. So like when she was like, 13, 14, and then she's getting big, well, people are like, oh, wow, this just happened. No, it wasn't. Justin Bieber too. They've been doing that for, 7 years or something prior to that. And that's when they finally hit. So people need to and don't get me wrong, it doesn't need Baja Forged is only 3 years old, but I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been honing that style in for that long. So it's been known on another level of what that is. So it's like been a side hustle of what that journey and evolution. So then at 10 years, you're finally like, oh, wow, now I'm becoming successful. It's not, I'm not having to put more into the business than it's giving back to me. It's actually giving back to me now at a certain point.
I think there's a good point that you brought up in there, Theresa, is that your day job that you're doing now may actually be air quotes, counting towards that timeline.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Because you may be working in the industry that ultimately your side hustle is in anyway.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's not like when you start your business officially and become an LLC or whatever it is, right? That's not technically when the clock starts per se.
No.
It just depends.
And one of the things that I did write down before we had the podcast and stuff is equity in your business. There's different types of equity that you can put in. You can put in financial equity. You can put in sweat equity. It can be, that depends on what that is and how, because, people are like, well, I don't have, money to start a business. Well, then put your time in, there's always a way to do it. You need to look around what that is. And those are all things that are worth something, so people have to just
worthiness. Holy mackerel, there's another time bomb, Theresa. Oh my God. So many people undervalue the product and service that they sell and they make it they don't charge enough for it. Holy mackerel. Oh my God. That's another hour-long podcast.
And you're right. And okay, I'll touch on that because so many people, so there's a certain person that we want to, there's a certain client that we want to tailor to. And it goes back to the high standard thing. People wanted us, talking about the manufacturing and all of that. Everyone right away, let's go to China. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm like, it's not part of what our mission is. Our goal is to keep jobs close to us locally, to be able to source that into, keep a healthy economy and stuff here, in the States, in Mexico, because that was part of our thing. That's where my journey's been too. It's been in Mexico and in the States. So pulling all of that together has been a big part of that. But everyone, when we price our product, it's well, I don't understand why your product's more, because it takes a long time to do. There's certain contours and bends that I'm like, but this needs to go like this. And they're like, I don't know if that'll work. I'm like, but it will. I've done it and it can work. It's just, it takes a lot longer. Why do you think it costs more? Someone was asking me the other day, well, this company offers that too. You're right. It's a bunch of straight bars that are welded together and it doesn't look the same. And why did you call me? Why are you asking me
to tell me that?
To compare that product? And
you called me because you liked what I have.
And then I looked up that customer, and he is a multi-millionaire in the multi. And I was like, it's not that I'm specifically saying, oh, that's only it's that I want, again, with my standards of what I want to put out there, those are the things that I want to keep of what that is. And
don't be afraid to charge for it.
And that's what I mean
that's kind of what I meant by firing a client per se, where it's like, don't compromise on what you want.
And everyone was against us. Everyone. So my husband and I were like, this is what it needs to be. And so many, well, we're not going to sell any. We will. Don't worry. We will get there. It's going to take some time. It's going to take
a different client than what you're used to selling to.
Yes.
A customer that you're used to selling for. But we know who we're selling to. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been a journey too, of people not aligning with that. And it's really huge if not. And I agree. And I, even going down that path. So we used to do SEMA vehicles for the SEMA show, and literally we did them for free. It is actually what we made more money on in the past few years was doing SEMA vehicles, than our auto body shop was doing.
Oh, wow.
We helped evolve it into a business like that, as opposed to something we were giving away for free.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Ooh, Theresa, we got to do another episode together. I'm being serious as heck because I feel like this episode was a lot around like mindset-ish type stuff.
And we never even talked about mindset, but it is.
It's crazy. But there's a lot of topics in there's a lot to this. And I think honing in on a community, tribe, and leader of a community that you trust to carry you down that path is so important. Whether that's me, you, someone else, or just a small collect of those. But when you spread yourself thin across tons of different gurus and stuff, it ends up getting confusing and overwhelming, to be honest. Get really good at one thing first, then move on to the next thing. Oh, man. Yeah, we definitely got to have another one, sister. This is fire. I told you, I'm like, we're only going to do 30 minutes. It's an hour. And it feels like I blinked and it was done. Seriously?
I didn't know it was that long.
It's crazy, right? Like I look.
We kept trying to like shorten the call. Okay, I'll only say a little bit.
Oh man, yeah.
We're both talkers.
Wow, and I really think that it's good content, right?
Oh heck,
great content, so relevant for the entrepreneur. And I just want to say thank you for spending your time with me. I always love chatting with you and spending time where, it's as an entrepreneur, you can often feel, and we touched on this, like you're on an island by yourself. And when you find like-minded people, the genuine like-minded people that you want to surround yourself with, there's something that almost makes you feel stronger. You know what I mean? Like you're locking arms with other people and you're like, yes, I'm not the only one like this. Yeah. And even though, like you said, we're thousands of miles away from each other and it's okay. It's hard to explain, but it's probably one of the most, between setting boundaries and connecting, finding your tribe, your community, it's probably one of the most important things you can do as an entrepreneur. How can people connect with you?
So Instagram's always the best way. So I have, for myself personally, I am at Design Muse, DESIGNMUSE, and then at Baja Forged. So you can also go online and go to TheresaContreras.com and find everything on there too as well.